What is extraordinary is how threatened the establishment felt by the underground press and by the hippie movement or underground movement. In fact, in no way were we going to smash the state. There were only a few hundred of us anyway, but they took it extremely seriously, partly because the police used it as an excuse to cover up their own corruption. So the various obscenity trials, for instance, aimed at the underground press, were largely done to cover up the fact that they were all taking enormous kickbacks from the pornography in Soho, as all came out in the police corruption trials in the early 70s, when over 500 detectives from Scotland Yard had to resign, or in many cases went to jail. But it was too late by then. A lot of the people in the underground had had their lives really messed around, or they'd gone to jail or whatever. So it wasn't entirely a philosophical objection on the police part. It was just pragmatic, really. But certainly questions were asked in the House about things. For instance, when we put an ad in the Times questioning the idea of pot being illegal, it wasn't even an ad asking for the legalization of pot. It was simply saying that the laws were unworkable and should be revised and looked at. And it was regarded as such a threat that there were questions asked in the House of Commons about it. How come there is a pot lobby? How come we didn't know about these terrible people undermining society? And people felt very threatened. And it is because I think back then there was one British way of life, really, and any deviation from it was seen as quite terrible. And the Queen was at the top, and the businessmen still wore bowler hats and carried furled umbrellas and all the rest of it. And this was the first real threat to it. And of course now we have a multicultural society, hopefully still, which allows far more variety in lifestyles and approaches to life, how you want to live your life.
But when you were busted a couple of times, weren't you, at the IT offices?
Yeah. The first time was after something in issue 5, I think. We were busted because we ran a Q&A interview with Dick Gregory, who was actually wasn't until the next year. I think he ran for president. But he used the word motherfucker, and we stupidly printed it. And of course, in Britain,
Wow.
Wow.